Uh, Evening, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar on the Renters' Rights Act. As I just said, we've got an awful lot to get through today and quite a short space of time to get through it. So I'll try and be as brief as I can with this introduction. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Sam. I'm the Housing Regulations Manager with Portsmouth City Council. I'm just going to quickly go around the room and ask my colleagues to say who they are and what they do. Gemma, can I come to you first, please?
Good evening. My name's Gemma Moreau and I am the Landlord and Tenant Support Officer in private sector housing. My role is to understand the issues that landlords and tenants can face and find ways to support them, like this webinar tonight. So it's really, really great to see so many of you here. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Gem. Linda?
Hello everybody, my name's Linda Cobb. I'm from Dash. I can see we've got some accredited landlords names popping up, so welcome. We manage the accreditation scheme. Dash is Decent and Safe Homes for those that don't know, and we are all things private rented to help local authorities and landlords navigate the various legislation that's out there. So we'll, myself and Osai will be doing the presentation today, so you'll be hearing a little bit more from us in a bit.
Brilliant. Thanks, Linda. Osai?
And evening, everyone. I am Osai Joseph from the NRLA. So for those that don't know, we are the National Residential Landlord Association, the largest one in England and Wales. And we support all the landlords across the country in lobbying the government and providing effective services to make landlording more straightforward for you all. My particular role is the regional engagement exec for them. So I cover the south of England, and Portsmouth is one of the territories that I look after.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. So as Linda just said, this evening's webinar is going to be led by Linda and Osai, and they're going to be focusing on what the new legislation means for property professionals in the sector. Just a few things to mention though before I hand over. Today is really focused on the key changes introduced from Friday and the processes that fall out of them. So we aren't here to discuss the pros and cons of the legislation or kind of speculate on any potential wider market implications. Nobody on the call's got decision-making power around legislation. But I think it's probably fair to say that everyone who's attending this evening has got an interest in seeing the new legislation complied with. So today is really aimed at supporting property professionals' preparedness for the Act. So after the presentation, we're going to move to a Q&A. So feel free to type your questions as we go along. I think for the council, the Act introduces some changes to the regulatory landscape that the council works within, such as bringing in new enforcement duties surrounding landlord legislation, tenancy reform, as well as amending some of the existing powers that we have. However, alongside those regulatory duties, we really want to support professionals working in the space through things like this evening's webinar, but also through the content published in our newsletters, on the website, through social media channels. So for those of you who might not be subscribed to that newsletter, I think most of you probably are who've joined today. I'd really encourage you to sign up to that, and Gemma's going to be circulating the link for that a little bit later on. We are going to be doing a little bit more support work in the space soon as well with landlord sort of one-to-one bookable sessions. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that because Gemma's going to share some information on that in the next couple of days. Just one last thing from me before I hand over to Linda and Osai. I just wanted to highlight to the room that we're currently in what the council calls the pre-election period. So that's due to upcoming local elections. And what that does is it sort of strengthens the requirement for political neutrality amongst council officers. So for this evening, that's myself and Gemma. And I sort of say that for everyone's awareness, just to be mindful when you're writing your questions that we won't be in a position to get into any of the political discussions that might touch the new legislation in some ways. Again, what we're really focusing on is what's changing and some of the processes that are relevant to that. Okay, I think that's everything from me. So Linda, Osai, are you happy to get started?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, so it's the Linda and Osai show then. It's I've worked with lots of Osai's colleagues across the country, talking to landlords on the Renters' Rights Act. And as Sam said, it's an overview. So we're going to look at the different parts of the legislation, and then we'll just tell you about them, sort of a start of a 10 really, and then you can go away and do some further reading or some training. We'll give you some more resources towards the end of the presentation. So if we crack on then, Osai, on the next slide. It's actually a time of change, massive time of change for landlords. This is the biggest bit of legislation that we've seen in almost 30 years, that's really going to change the sector. But what we do know about the landlord community is you are a resilient bunch. We can get through this, and you can use it as an opportunity to thrive in some ways. We can, if we learn together. But really what I wanted to say is a big thank you for what you do in the marketplace. So landlords providing properties is really, really important. So thank you, and we really hope we can give you the knowledge to help you thrive in your business. And if you adapt, then you can thrive. So if we go on to the next slide, Osai. What is actually going to be changing then in the Renters' Rights Act? What's the first things that are going to come in? And Osai is going to talk to you about phase 1. So phase 1. So if you forget everything else that's said tonight, I want you just to take the next 10 minutes. This is the most important bit that Osai is going to talk about. So he's going to talk about the key bits that are coming in as of Friday. So over to you, Osai. You crack on with the top bit for me.
Thank you very much, Linda. And again, us at the NRLA would like to reiterate that point as well. Thank you for the service that you do provide as landlords. I was at a forum last night in Hertfordshire, and some landlords are worried, but you provide a service of 5 million tenants in the country. So for that, we do need your participation, and we are thankful for the jobs that you are doing. But as Linda said, so 1st of May is it's almost upon us, and this has been a long time coming. I've been at the NRLA almost 2 years, and this has been pretty much what my job has been about since I started in the summer of 24. But here we are. So let's just run through this rather quickly, and then we'll save some of the questions for a little bit later. So all of your tenancy agreements do need to be in writing from Friday. So any oral tenancies that you do have will need to be transferred into written agreements, and the mandatory information needs to be given out before that they sign. So this is going to come from directly from the government, gov.uk website, and you can issue this in two different ways. So you can give out a hard copy in a piece of paper, put it through the letterbox, or hand it to your tenants in person. If you're going to do it electronically, please send the PDF version, and only from gov.uk. I can't reiterate this enough. Please don't get the information from any other source, and don't take the information out of the document and put it in the body of a text or an email. Send the whole PDF document. So ourselves at the NRLA signpost to the gov.uk website. So regarding your tenancy types, all of them will be periodic assured tenancies. So ASTs are to be done away with. They're now going to be APTs, if you will, and the fixed terms are now banned. So that means that there is no end date to your tenancy agreements once you enter into them. The tenant can give you 2 months notice at any time to end the tenancy. So theoretically, on Friday, somebody could move into a property, and on Saturday morning decide they no longer want to be there and give you 2 months notice. Just assure you all, so some do have a little fear that this may turn into Airbnb light. I don't think it's anyone's interest to move in and out of a property on a consistent basis. It incurs a lot of costs, it incurs a lot of time to both the tenant and the landlord. So just keep that in mind, but also think about your referencing criteria here as well. So who you choose to accept, you're going to have to probably think about this a little bit more than you did in the past. And there is another reason I do mention that, but think about the tenant profile and have that discussion with your agent as well, if you are using an agent and not self-managing, about your strategy going forwards in terms of tenant applications. So for the tenancy wording, as we said, the government has released this, and that wording must be in its entirety. It also gives the PRS the chance to prepare for the new agreement. So there's going to be various that are going to be coming out. We have prepared our standard tenancies, but there are going to be some more nuanced cases going forwards. I had a landlord come to me and say, do you have a document in regards to mixed tenure within the same HMO property? So he had students and professionals. Do we have an agreement for that? Short answer, yes, we will. But these are some of the things you need to consider going forward. So what type of contracts am I going to be using for my portfolio? It is only 2 days away, but please don't use the contracts before the 1st of May. They are not valid until that date. And you don't have to replace your tenancy agreements either. So you kind of got a choice here. Either you keep the same agreements that you have in place today and then issue the new information sheet before the 31st of May, or you can decide to issue new agreements with the new information included inside. One's going to require a touch more admin than the other, but the choice is yours. You do have until the 31st of May, though, to decide whichever one you're going to use before any potential penalties. But just to give you all that sort of headline. So what other changes? We know Section 21 is going, so I don't want to labor that too long. The last day to use it is tomorrow. So if you haven't, well, you may be out of time, actually. It's 6 o'clock now. So you've got until maybe until the morning to do that. You will have 3 months after commencement. You have until the last day of July to get through that court system with your Section 21. If you don't, for whatever reason, get through, you will have to join the back of the queue again using the Section 8 with the relevant ground. So for those that are still perhaps sitting on the fence, please take immediate action. In regards to Section 8, I normally test the landlords that I present to, but since we're not in person and you can't shout out a number, I'll tell you all that there's 37 grounds within Section 8. If you didn't know that, or you have no idea what some of these grounds are, I would encourage you all to really consider diving into this and learning more. Those 37 grounds have their specific notice periods, and this could potentially affect how you choose to get possession of your property later on down the line. So if you didn't know those 37 and you have a not so good idea of what a lot of those are, then I would encourage you to look into that further. For your sales and moving your family back in, that's going to be your grounds 1 and 1A under Section 8. So this is how you're going to reclaim possession in those circumstances. It is a 4-month notice, and it can't be issued within the first 12 months of the tenancy. So that 12 months is called a protected period. So on a theoretical basis, and just to keep things simple, let's say it's January the 1st, 2027, and you've got a new tenancy starting. You can't use it for the first 12 months, but on month number 8, you can issue your 4-month notice. So at month 12, you can regain possession. So that's your first year elapsed. Month 12, you can move back into the property. Then they won't be able to relet for another 12 months after that. And the reason why the government has done this is because they don't want this to be a workaround for that Section 21 going. So this is for a genuine case. If you are genuinely trying to sell your property or you need to move your family back in, you can use these provisions. Just to clarify what family actually means. So that's going to be your children, your grandchildren, your civil partner, your spouse, and your parents. So this isn't your cousin twice removed on your dad's side. This is going to be the immediate family vertically, and then your spouse or your civil partner. For the student ground, this is going to be your 4A. So for this year only, it's a 2-month notice period, but typically it's 4 months, and it only applies to HMOs. About 30% of student properties are not HMOs. So this is something that's going to have to be evaluated going forwards in relation to this ground. But you will have to let your students know that you're planning to use this ground by the May 31st deadline that I mentioned earlier in relation to that new information sheet. And it can be used only between the 1st of June and the 30th of September. So that's going to be your typical university student moving period, exams finished, they're going back home, or they're looking for new accommodation for the next year, that's going to be that sort of moving period. That's when you can use it. So again, to reiterate, 4-month notice, but for 2026 only, it is 2 months because this is the year that we're all in transition. And then for rent increases, this is going to be limited to 1 per year and only via Section 13. So some of you may be aware of the Section 13 process and have used it previously, but this is going to be mandatory going forwards. At present, it is free for your tenant to challenge and potentially end up at the first tier tribunal, but the government has said that there is going to be a £47 fee that's going to be imposed in the future. The future date, we don't know yet. It would have made a lot of sense in my mind if this was on the 1st of May as well as the new legislation, but that isn't the case. It will be somewhat a later date down the line. So I've got this graphic up on the screen here just to help everybody sort of see what that Section 8 process looks like as a sort of a workflow. So Section 8, your relevant ground, as I said, one of the 37, then your N5 and N119. For those that don't know what an N5 or N119 is, they are 2 forms that you serve concurrently that basically says, I am planning to take repossession of my property, N5, and N119 is the particulars. So what is the reason why you're doing so? So you're going to serve Section 8, the relevant ground, your N5, your N119, serve them concurrently, and then we wait for our hearing. All court cases will need a hearing. They can be as little as 5 minutes, but you will need one. And then if you look on the far right, if you're serving for rent arrears, which is your grounds 8, 10, and 11, 8 being mandatory, 10 and 11 discretionary, you can use the PCOL service. So this is the possession claim online. Today, that costs about £404, I believe, but that is to expedite your claim through the court system for rent arrear cases. For pets, I get this question a lot. Am I allowed to refuse a pet? This causes a lot of controversy. The short answer is yes, you can refuse, but on reasonable grounds. So how the process is going to work, your tenant has 28 days to formulate their request and send that to you in writing. And then, sorry, you have 28 days to respond to the tenant's request that comes in writing. And this is where that dialogue is going to start. So this is going to, there's going to be a bit of nuance to this. I got a landlord asking me yesterday, what if someone wants to move a cobra or a python into my 1-bedroom flat? I can't arbitrate for every scenario, but we have to be reasonable. So is the animal too large for the property? Is there sufficient outside space for said animal? Is the animal noisy or will it cause a nuisance? What about your superior lease terms? These things all come into consideration. And I think finally, if you've got an allergy to said pet, that is also a ground that you may be able to refuse on. But this is going to come down to good dialogue with your tenants, and you're going to have to answer each other and have this conversation in writing and make sure that that ground is reasonable. If there's a tabby cat and you own a 3-bedroom house, it may be reasonable to let this tenant have that pet. So keep this sort of in consideration. Tenancy deposits, of course, can be used to cover damages in that event too. For rental discrimination, this is going to come down to our tenants who might be on DSS, partial DSS, or some other form of benefits. You are not allowed to illegally discriminate against them. So if you do have a tenant coming forwards, let's say, for example, it's a single mother, she's got 2 kids, she's claiming various benefits, and she inquires about your house. You have to give her a fair chance. If means tested, she can afford to live there. So that includes inquiries, any particularism related to the property, viewing opportunities, things of that nature. You can't discriminate and say you don't want to rent to said person because of their status. And then finally, of course, it comes down to affordability, as I mentioned, and then the referencing process. So if the reference comes back adverse, of course, you can refuse just in the same way you do today. Rental bidding is banned, so we can't pitch tenants against each other, and you can't accept a price higher than what is the asking rent. So again, if you're using an agent, have that conversation about your rental strategy. Think about the price points you want to put your property on at, just so you know that you can't accept £1 more than that figure. Councils can impose a penalty up to £7,000 for breaches in this case. Rent in advance. So requesting rent in advance ends. So no asking and no coercion. If the tenant offers, it can be accepted. I want to be very clear here that it has to come from the tenant, nothing from yourself. And please keep evidence that it was the tenant that has offered in this scenario. So where you have an agreement with your tenant, both parties have signed, security deposit in place, first month's rent paid, and the tenant turns around and says, Mr. or Mrs. Landlord, I would like to pay 3 months or 6 months. That is allowed. But you will have to evidence as a landlord that it was a tenant that asked this. And this is where this might get a little bit murky. So if you're having this conversation, get it in writing so you can actually evidence that it was a tenant. So if it's an email, keep a hard copy. Perhaps you want to print something off, and potentially signed as well, just so you can show the council and any other authorities that it wasn't me that has asked for this rent in advance. I hope that is clear. So that's enough of me. I've been speaking for the last 12, 15 minutes, and I'll hand over to Linda here.
Yeah, so that's brilliant, Osai. Thank you. So there's a lot there, but I think it's worth mentioning that with good organisation, and a lot of landlords already are doing a lot of what Osai has already said. They're not discriminating. Discrimination was banned before. To illegally discriminate against tenants was banned before. So this is just adding some more clarity to that. And most landlords would consider reasonable pets anyway. So a lot of it would just take a little bit of adjustment. So when is all of what we're going to say going to happen? So if we go into the next slide, Osai. As we mentioned, everything that Osai has just told you about is happening from the 1st of May, and that's phase 1. So pop a note in your diary, even when you're here now, pick up your phone, pop a note in that you've got to have looked at this, spend some time on this during May, put yourself a half a day aside to really get your heads around it if you are not up to speed already. So the next slide, please, Osai. So what's coming next then? So phase 2. So everything that, if you're going to forget anything, forget what I'm going to tell you, but don't forget what Osai was going to tell you. So what's coming is in the future, and I think it's important to give you the full picture of renters' rights. So this isn't here yet. This is going to be a new private landlord ombudsman. So this is going to be in addition to your licensing and in addition to anything else that I tell you about. So and in addition to your agent's redress scheme that they have to be part of. So every private landlord must join, once it's ready, this ombudsman scheme, and then the tenants can complain to the ombudsman scheme should there be any issues. So for example, if they ask for a pet and you unreasonably refuse, they can go to the ombudsman and they'll look at it for them. Failure to join the ombudsman may incur enforcement action, so you'll have to join, else you could end up with a fine. And also you have to abide by the ombudsman's decision. It's really important, because if not, they kick you out. Ergo, you can't then rent out because you need to be in it in order to be a landlord. So when it does come round, please do take it really seriously, because it's going to be a really sort of useful for you to know all the ins and outs of the ombudsman scheme. Now that's coming probably 2028. There's a lot of work to do on it at the moment. It's in the social renter sector at the moment, and they're bringing it over, so we're all under the same umbrella. So a lot of work. So I'm expecting mid to late 2028. But the thing that's a little bit more closer to home and is actually in touching distance is the new private rented sector database. So this is a national thing, and again, this is in addition to your licensing, in addition to your ombudsman, and in addition to any redress scheme that your agent is part of. And this is where every property that is rented needs to be registered on this portal, and it must be on there before you advertise. Eventually, eventually, a lot further in the future, it's aimed to be a one-stop shop for landlords, where everything will be in there and you'll be able to get documents, etc. But at the moment, it's just going to be a portal for registering properties. And the front end will look a little bit like, you know, when you want to check if your car's got the MOT's due or the tax is due, and you put in your registration number and it pops up, tax due on the 1st of June. You know, and you can, it's going to be a bit like that. Yes, this property is registered. No, this property isn't registered. And then as the database gets more complex, it'll be able to have more uses. So lots of organisations will have access to this, and it's also banded that maybe HMRC will have access to it as well. Councils will be able to use it to have a look at their private rented stock and be able to gain intelligence of where there is a lot of rental houses, where there's not so many, and where they can offer help and guidance to landlords. And there's going to be a fee for that, and there's going to be a fee for the Ombudsman. So just bear that in mind when you are planning your businesses moving forward. Next slide then, please, Osai. So with all of what we've told you about today, as part of the renters' rights, there is going to be more enforcement powers for the local authorities to ensure that these criminal landlords are taken out of the business as much as we can possibly do. So there is going to be more investigatory powers for the local authority to really go and get those criminal landlords. So, you know, the ones that are working with gangmasters, the ones that are illegally bringing people into the country, those are the really bad landlords that these investigatory powers are really going to be targeted at. As well as that, there's going to be more civil penalty fines. So if the landlords, the local authorities can issue £7,000 for a minor breach, and that can escalate up to 40,000. But they will still be working. You're so lucky at Portsmouth because you've got the wonderful Gemma. So it's a council that's saying, okay, we want to enforce the bad landlords, but we also want to support the good landlords, and they're showing that. They're actually showing that. With action by giving us Gemma and giving us all of the support that her department's able to offer. So we are lucky in Portsmouth. In addition to the additional enforcement, the tenants are going to have more enforcement power as well in terms of rent repayment orders, and the government has strengthened these. So they've gone from being 12 months to 24 months. So 2 years. If you get caught doing something wrong, you could, for some offences, have to pay 2 years rent back in addition to having a £7,000 fine. So really, why I wanted to tell you this is, don't bury your head in the sand. Don't just think that your agent's dealing with it. I don't have to worry. You are the landlord. It's your business, and you really need to be at the forefront of everything that we're telling you about, and upskill yourself, because failure to do that could be really costly. So it's so important. Next slide, Osai, please. So everything that I've told you about there, the Ombudsman and the database, they're phase 2. So database is already being trialled at various local authorities in the country. I've got some colleagues working on it in Nottingham City. So they're trialling the beta phase, and I've had a look at it and working through all of the gremlins that are part of mass IT schemes. And then the Ombudsman, like I said, that's going to be nearer 2028. But I think we'll see the database as early as the end of 2026. Okay, next slide. So the government have done a lot of media work ready for tomorrow, ready for Friday the 1st. So you'll be hearing it on the radio, on the news. On Friday, I'm expecting, you know, all of the morning programmes to have it all on one show, all of those sorts of things on the media. So keep an eye out. Expect your tenants to contact you, and if they don't, then you give them a ring. It's okay. You may see in the press about the renters' rights coming. Don't worry. We've got a good working relationship. Nothing's going to change. Blah blah blah. So or something is going to change, because I'm going to give you this new information sheet that I have to give you by the 31st of May if it's an existing tenancy. The tribunals and the court process is looking to be strengthened, and they're looking to digitise some parts to help speed it up, because they're expecting any backlogs to be able to get through them as quickly as possible. Next slide, please, Osai. Okay, so what we've done is we've placed all of the information that I've told you about today and Osai's told you about today in an e-learning course. So if you can take a picture of the screen, you should have your phone out from putting your notes in your diary. But take a picture of that QR code, and that's everything in the course. The NRLA have got some brilliant courses as well on their website, and the MHCLG, the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, have got some great stuff on their websites. So please do go and upskill yourselves. Next slide, please, Osai. So if you're not part of a landlord association, this is my plug. I don't get paid from them, but if you're not, consider being a part of a landlord association, whether that be a national one, a local one, because one of the things that I really landlords are telling me at the moment is they just need somebody when everything goes wrong or to ask a few questions. And I believe you've got that at the NRLA, haven't you, Osai?
Yeah, absolutely. So the advice line is open 6 days a week, Monday to Saturday.
Perfect.
And I actually just got some research data that we got 4,500 calls last week alone, and 4,200 the week before. So we've seen an uptick in the last couple of months of people looking for some additional help.
And I think that's it. I think having that, and even if you just say, okay, I'm just going to join the NRLA for a year whilst I get over this ump, then, why not? Or your local landlord association. So yeah, it is really important. Do you want to go on to the next slide? There we go. So, you've got a code as well.
Yeah, QR codes everywhere.
QR code for a discount. There you go. Cool.
So just for those that are wondering, where it says share the benefits and one associate, the associate gets the same benefits as the lead name on the account. So it's effectively 2 for 1. Typically husband and wife, for example, one person is the lead name, the other is the associate, or vice versa, and you can get the same benefits for everything. And if you're a business, you get 4 associates, all the same benefits as the lead name.
Lovely. Okay, thank you. I think we've got some contact details on the next slides, have we?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's you.
That's me.
And I think I'm on the next one. But we'll be sharing all of what we've told you about today. So in addition to the recording, we'll also have put this all out in a little handbook as well. So you've not got to go through the slides. We'll put it all out into some sentences for handbook. And don't forget that course. Please do go and have a look, training.org.uk, and then you can look it through at your leisure then. Brilliant. Okay, over to you, Sam. I think we're on schedule.
Yeah, that was right on time. Thanks ever so much. Really informative, both of you. Thanks again. So we have got a few questions in the chat. I probably should have clarified that earlier, actually, when I gave my introduction. Please use the Q&A function that should be kind of to the top of your screen. You've got your sort of mics and cameras have been disabled. So yeah, post your questions in the Q&A and we'll try to get to them. If we can't get round to your question today, please don't panic. What we'll do is we'll, along with this recording, which we'll share with the group, we'll also post that on our website. We'll compile answers to those questions that we didn't quite get round to today. So the first question made me smile, actually, Linda, because we were talking about this in the green room before we came in. This person says they have a company let and what happens there. So I know I gave my opinion, which I think is they're excluded from the 88 Act. So these provisions won't apply, but I'll open that up to Linda and Osai if you've got anything else to say on that.
I thought they were excluded. Osai, are you on the same page?
So what was the specific nature? Should they continue with the company let, or are they managing?
Or are they? I think it's our company lets inside RRA or outside RRA.
I think that's the question. Sorry, the phrasing is, I have a company let. What happens there?
Okay, yes, it's outside. However, I'm going to put a caveat on this and say that from our perspective, in terms of our landlords, because intermediary landlords will not be taking the same responsibility they have previously. If you are a superior landlord, then I will urge you to proceed with caution in regards to company lets. because you will take ultimate liability. So case law has changed in the last, I believe, 2-3 years in regards to this. So just be aware, you can continue doing company let, which is fine, but as a landlord, be very careful about whatever arrangement you enter into because of that liability
That
piece.
goes back to the rent repayment orders being extended to superior landlords as well, haven't they?
Yeah. So what happened previously, I think case law from 2023, there was a landlord that was he was international. He had a company let arrangement. The intermediary landlord basically absconded, and the superior landlord said, I didn't have management of said property.
Yes.
Responsibility doesn't fall on me, and the judge actually ruled in his favor, but that has now changed.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So yes, proceed with caution.
Proceed with caution, absolutely.
Okay,
I think the comment about rent repayment orders being extended to superior landlords, that thread is kind of through a lot of the action that typically councils kind of take. So superior landlords come into the fold with a lot of the other things beyond rent repayment orders as well. So yeah, good point about proceeding with caution there. Okay, so the next question is, somebody has said here, my tenants have been in situ with an ongoing tenancy agreement since October 2018 with no issues or rent arrears.
Brilliant.
My house has just been sold subject to contract, and my tenant now wants to be placed on the waiting list for council housing. This is likely to take many months. How does the new tenancy law impact on evictions with good cause, namely sale of a house?
So I'm assuming a Section 21 will have been issued.
Doesn't say.
Yeah. I'm assuming a Section 21 issued, and then they'll have until, is it July to go to court to action that Section 21 Osai, and then so I'm assuming that they'll have gone to court, and then they will go through the possession proceedings as normal, and then the council will then have a duty then to potentially a duty to house the tenant if they fall under certain banding. Anything else to add to that, Osai?
I don't really think so. Without any further details,
no.
I don't think I've got anything more to add to that.
You'll still be able to sell your properties. So whereas what's probably happened previously is when you've wanted to sell, you've just issued a Section 21, whereas now you'll use the Section 11A. So it's I can never remember it whether it's 1 or 1A. Hence I say 11A. So it was so you'll issue that, and then one. There you go. So you'll issue that, and then you'll go through the procedures there. So you'll still get your property back. But and then everything that happens after that in terms of going to court and getting a bailiff and doing that will remain the same.
Well, thank you. So the next person has said, is this being applied retrospectively? I have a pending notice case, and they've added, and what does it say about the membership fees?
So if you've got a case going through as it is now, it's in the sausage factory, so it's absolutely fine. That's it'll come out the other end. So existing cases, it won't have, the RRA won't have an impact on it, is my understanding. Osai, is that the same as you?
Yeah. If you're already in the pipeline or on the conveyor belt or whatever expression you want to use, then yes, it will just continue as.
Good. Yep.
Okay.
I didn't understand the second half of that question though.
Well,
the membership fees,
possibly a comment about NRLA or Dash membership fees.
Or maybe it's court costs. Maybe it's fees for that. I don't know. But yeah, your fees are staying the same for a little bit, I assume. So yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next person has said, for student properties where you get new groups each academic year, if you think you might wish to sell your property but can't for 12 months, then can you put it on the market ready to sell at the end of 12 months, or how does that work?
If I understand
Yeah,
correctly,
you.
so they're waiting for the students to move out. They've got students in place at the moment, and then they're in their last year of studying or something like that, and they want to sell.
It reads that way.
Yeah, you can't get. Yeah,
Okay.
carry on.
Well,
Yeah.
the first 8 months of the tenancy, it will just be in place, and then you can serve that notice to sell at month 8. It's a 4-month notice. So at month 12, you will gain that sort of possession, and you can sell said property. Is there anything else I'm missing?
Can she mark it at month 8 if they give her permission, maybe, or can she mark it? Can she not mark it until the end of the 12 months?
Oh, yes,
Maybe
you
it's
absolutely
that.
can mark it. Yeah, you can mark it, not a problem. You can do viewings and whatnot, as long, the same way you would now, you would let your tenants know that somebody's coming around, etc. But yes, you can absolutely. You just can't sell, obviously, until that 12 months has elapsed.
Okay. Got another question here. What happens if my letting agent fails to send the new forms?
This is an interesting one. It depends, doesn't it, Osai, on the agreement between yourselves and the agent. Is that right?
Could you elaborate on that?
Well, I was thinking agents have a duty, don't they, if they are on a fully managed, to issue the government information sheet.
No, go ahead.
But often agents can be on a let only, or they can also be on a fully managed. So I guess it depends. If they're on let only, they're not liable to be sending the tenant information form, the government information form for tenants. But if they're on fully managed, then they would. But my advice in all of that, Sam, is to call your agent and get it in writing over who's doing it and have you done it, and then hey, do it as well.
Absolutely. I think from our perspective, because ultimate liability comes back to the landlord, yes, definitely have that conversation. Do not make any assumptions that your agent, even under a fully managed circumstance, is issuing this document on your behalf. Either serve it yourself or have that conversation and get it in writing about what the arrangement is. But liability does fall on yourself. So if May 31st is surpassed and that has not been issued to the tenant, I believe that the landlord does still take responsibility of that. So have that dialogue.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So this person has said, do I have to give a copy? Do I have to give a copy of the information sheet to every single tenant where 5 students are currently sharing on one single agreement? Can I post or send one envelope with 5 individual envelopes holding the information sheet? Should I ask them to sign to say they've received it?
Yep, do you want to do this one, Osai?
Yeah, so
It's a good
everybody
one.
named. Yeah, absolutely. Everyone named on the tenancy needs to be issued with their own copy. So yes, 5 students under the same agreement. Those are 5 separate individuals, therefore 5 copies. I absolutely agree with getting some evidence of signing. So if you're not using any e-signature platforms, DocuSign or what have you, then get those physical ones as well. Yep, a little bit of extra admin, but everybody named. And I get this question. I got this yesterday as well. Husband and wife, aren't we one entity? We're 2 people, two different forms. Yeah.
Yeah, if well, I had one yesterday. So if Osai and I rent a property together, and the contract says Linda Cobb and Osai Joseph, that's what that's on the contract. However, if I am just if Osai's on the contract but I'm just staying with him, then you just issue to Osai. But if I'm named on it, then you issue to both of us. And in terms of putting them all into one envelope, hey, it's a big thing. And if it just means doing 5 envelopes, then I'm not going to tell you whether you can or whether a judge would tell you, in 3 years' time whether you were right or wrong. But you know what? I'm a belt and braces girl, and if it's going to cost me a couple of stamps, then just do it, because you don't want to be the one that gets dragged through the courts with this, or on a technicality and your name's everywhere because you sent them all in one envelope. you probably would get it, probably be absolutely fine. But yeah, just let yourself sleep well at night and just send them properly.
Brilliant, thank you. This one might be a little bit tricky to answer. This person has said, what are landlords with student lets doing in Portsmouth to ensure that they are not financially affected? Are move-in dates being moved forward in anticipation of tenants giving notice with intention of moving out at the end of May or June, whereas previously would have moved out perhaps at the end of July? Are we expecting more tenancies to now start in July or August as opposed to September? So I appreciate you guys won't be able to give a Portsmouth context, but what are you seeing elsewhere with that?
If I'm honest, what I'm seeing at the moment is nothing will change this year. So I think it'll all just stay the same this year. It might stay the same the year after, and then after that we might see some change. But I don't think we're going to see any change any mass change anytime soon, because there's always a lag with anything new. There's always a lag, and a lot of landlords I am speaking to in the student market are just going to suck it and see and just go with it for this year, and then it'll probably next year will sneak up on them and they'll go with it for the next year, and then as the market changes they may follow suit. What about you, Osai?
Yeah, something similar. Some landlords have responded already and said that they're going to move their start dates forward to try and cover as many months as possible, because they do anticipate that some students will not, they would just finish their final exam and then serve the notice and potentially leave. So that leaves the landlords potentially with a bigger gap than they may have experienced previously. So some people are being a little creative with their with their dates, and I think the way they're going to manage is also going to be changing a little bit. So again, this year is probably the same. Next year onwards, people might get a little creative. We're starting to see people probably move more towards that room-only arrangement rather than everybody on the same agreement.
Yes, I've heard. Yes, that's definitely. Yes, I've heard that myself.
Because one person is going to potentially affect everybody else's.
Yeah. So whether one gives notice, is that right?
It's going to affect the rest of the house. If you've got a 5-bed, one person wants to leave, it does affect the rest. So then how do you mitigate? Potentially have everyone on their own separate agreement.
From the get-go, as opposed to then doing it once that one leaves and having to do it in the chaos of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Get it all set.
Exactly. So I think you're right. I think for this year, it will probably just continue as everybody gets used to the changes. But I do anticipate from 2027, people will go, right, we've been at this for about a year now. We kind of know what's happening. And then they will start to adjust their managements accordingly.
Yeah, I work with the National Code for Larger Student Developments, and as you'll know, the PBSA, the Purpose-Built Student Accommodation, falls outside of Renters' Rights Act. And I always feel that I should do a little pitch, because there's often some bad press that say, oh, it's all right for the student blocks, they're outside of RRA, and it's not fair. I just wanted to use just 1 second just to let you know that those blocks are subject to really, really strict, in order for them to be outside of the Renters' Rights Act, really strict code of management that they have to abide by, and that includes lots of different things in terms of how they manage the mental health of their students, to their pricing structures, to what happens if the building's late. So there's lots of things. So even though they are outside RRA, actually, in my opinion, they're held to a higher account. So the market will adjust there as it is to where we are.
Brilliant, thank you. I suspect I might know what you'll say to this one, given your belt and braces comment a second ago. This person has put, can I send the government information via a WhatsApp group? And can you see who has, you can then see who's seen it. So that's a really good point about the acknowledgement that you can, you can see who's seen that.
The thing with the government information sheet is you don't actually legally have to have proof that they've got it, that they've signed it. What you need to show is that you've served it. So, but you can do it in a WhatsApp group. What you can't do is just a link. So you've got to, you've got to send the document, and I always struggle a bit with WhatsApp on PDFs, but you know, not everybody's as archaic as I am. But yeah, you can do it, and like Osai was saying, the belt and braces is to get it signed for your own peace of mind. But yes, you can definitely do WhatsApp. If you've never spoken to your tenants on WhatsApp, and then you just decide to send it to them on WhatsApp, that's probably when I get a little bit anxious. If you've never emailed them a thing, and then all of a sudden you're going to email them something, and it happens to be this tenant information sheet, again, I'd be a bit icky there as well. So, but if that's your means of communication, it's well established, then yes, you can. Osai, any gaps?
No, I think that's a great point. Attach the whole PDF. Don't copy anything that's from anywhere else but gov.uk. So whether that's your friend, your landlord friend that you know,
Yeah.
that you met up on the weekend, please.
And not
just send it from
ChatGPT.
Yeah, no AI, please.
Yeah, I love AI. I love AI, and I've just done a little meme to my friend earlier today. But please don't use it for tenancy agreements. I was speaking to a landlord over in Lincolnshire yesterday, and he told me that he's put his existing agreement, he's put the Renters' Rights Act into ChatGPT, and it's asked him, and he's provided this, and I'm twitching as he's telling me, and I'm going, please don't do that. Use a reputable source. Go to the NRLA for your agreements or your local landlord associations and get something.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Do not use the AI chatbots for legal tender.
Not yet. Maybe in the future. Maybe in the future, but just not at the minute.
Yet.
Oh, it's definitely coming, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, this actually concerns, I think, a question that came up earlier. So this person has said, if an initial house sale falls because buyers drop out and the landlord decides to re-rent to different tenants, say because the housing market is slow, does the 12-month re-renting freeze still apply? They've said, I'm assuming it does, in which case landlords will be penalised unfairly through no fault of their own.
Yeah, it's difficult, but like Osai said, it's to stop the backdoor Section 21s. People that often abuse legislation abuse anything, make it harder for people that don't. But yes, you would have to wait you'd have to have the 12 months since gaining possession in order to rent again. Is that right, Osai?
Yeah.
And it is disappointing because there are going to be empty properties out there where you may have, extra council tax, or you may have bills and what have you. So yeah, it's really difficult. So make sure that you are as committed as possible to that sales process. And I appreciate from that question that things happen and it's not your fault. But yeah, fingers crossed that doesn't happen too many times.
Thank you. Okay, so someone has said here, I've seen pop-up adverts on YouTube for landlords to transfer to a service-based accommodation model akin to Airbnb to maintain their profit levels. I imagine this will worsen the current housing crisis as fewer houses will be available for standard accommodation.
Well, I would just be very careful there because obviously we've got renters' rights now, haven't we? But also on the horizon is the regulation of the short-term lets market. So that's only a hop, skip and a jump away. So people that are leaving private rented to get into short-term lets may actually have more of a storm coming their way. As well as not having the length of tenure and security that you would have in the private rented sector. So by all means, if you want to adapt your business model accordingly and it's legal, do so, but do so with the right information about what's coming. And it's not going to be the short-term lets regulation isn't going to be a housing led or legislation. It's going to be Ministry of Tourism and Leisure, I believe. So it's going to come from a different angle. So we might not have all that information straight away to be able to share with you. So just be aware if you are hopping and skipping over into that. Osai, anything to add to that?
No, that's I do reiterate that there is potentially going to be a use class for holiday lets and those type of housing, much in the same way we've got C3, C4 today for HMOs and things like that. So like you said, it's on the horizon. We don't know when. Yes, landlords will adapt their management styles and Yeah, as long as you're making a fully informed decision.
Yeah.
So you see the YouTube ad, wonderful, but make sure you consult a professional service. And if it all makes sense, then by all means. Will it affect housing overall? Well, it depends on the volume of people doing this. And I don't know what that number would be to
I
affect
think
that, you know.
what we were talking about the other day, Sam, is there's going to be people that are going to come up with try and do workarounds for renters' rights. There's going to be people there that are going to go, oh yeah, try this, but none of it has been trialed before. So until something, you know, if you're a risk taker and you that's your personality type and you want to go for it, then you know I'm not to tell you not to. But if there's going to be some people out there thinking and being able to sell you something that actually you don't potentially need, what you need is a well-run business, and you can still make this a great industry to work in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I might say, you know, don't go there. I think what we want to try and avoid is people falling foul of the new requirements and being on the receiving end of kind of, you know, enforcement action, you know, by sort of risk taking as you framed it there, really, Linda. Yeah, so as you were saying earlier, Osai, proceed with caution, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. And sometimes when people try and circumnavigate legislation, actually you're not, or they're doing is acting as a middleman and taking a lot of money. So yeah, I don't know the ones that you're talking about in the chat, but yeah, I've seen that happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Housing Act, you know, sadly I was around when the Housing Act got launched, so you know, some of us are a lot older than you, Osai. So yeah, we saw it happen then, and people got their fingers burnt. So yeah, potentially don't be that person.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I think this one's probably for you, Osai, actually.
Okay.
Will you issue a certificate of participation so that people can upload CBD to their NRLA accreditation for this evening?
Unfortunately, I have to be a bearer of bad news. So because this isn't an NRLA webinar specifically, we can't administer the CPDs. So this is the Portsmouth Council event that we are participating in. So there has been a sort of a change. I'm not sure how long you have been an accredited member, but that is the stance at present.
Does it have to be a NRLA event for them to get their credits?
Yeah, so if it's one of our webinars or physical events, then yeah, by all means, or one of our trainings or whatever. But if it's an external event, then it doesn't. But if you are a member, if someone who was a member just asked that question, my email is back up on the slide if you all can still see it. Do reach out to me if you do have a grievance.
And if anybody's got if anybody wants a certificate for the event, I'm happy to provide the if the lovely Gemma gives me the names, I can give you certificates. Yeah.
Okay.
I am very conscious of time because we have exactly 1 minute left. So maybe let's try and squeeze one more question in.
Sorry, Sat.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I don't know. There's a gentleman here. I think Michael has had his hand up for like the last 20 minutes. I don't know if Michael, you want to put it in the chat or something.
Yeah.
Or if he has already.
Thanks, Osai. Yeah, appreciate that.
Oh, right.
Michael, we probably won't get round to your question, but if you pop it in the chat, then we can see it and we can answer it afterwards when we sort of share the notes and the recording from today. So last one, this person has said, if you have an HMO with individual room contracts and want to sell the property, how do you do this? 12 months after the last person moved in?
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to overstep here. I have heard about this before. Great question. If you are a member of any professional body, please call in. If this was an NRLA member, please call in and get some professional advice. I don't have that answer at present.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because
that's a great one to end on.
When you read the legislation, it appears that yes, you do, but Yeah, if I tell you that yes you do, but then obviously that's going to have a massive impact on your business. So I would go to somebody who's a lot more qualified legally than me to have really researched it for you, because if you look at it, it says 12 months from, so you can't mark it. So yeah, but there may be somebody that reads it differently to what I have.
Kind of goes back to that point of this isn't tested yet, it's not gone through the court system yet, it's it's operative on Friday, so I'm sure lots of things will be worked out.
And HMOs is always a difficult arena as well, isn't it? Because you've got your traditional renting, and then you've got HMOs, which is always just there's always a little bit of a curveball there. But yes, I would say yes, you probably do, but don't take my word for it. Go and get some proper legal advice, because that's going to hit you in the pocket if you did need to sell, because you're going to have voids, whichever way you look at it.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, all right, I think we're going to have to draw it to a close there. There's one or two questions. We actually got round to most of them, which is really good. There's one or two that we didn't quite get round to. So Gemma, if you can sort of take a note of those, what we'll try and do is get some answers when we share this with the group, and we'll go from there. But thank you ever so much, Osai and Linda, for coming along this evening, giving up your evening to present to everybody. Lots of thank yous coming up here in the Q&A. So yeah, really appreciate your time with that. As I've said, we'll circulate this as quickly as we can. We'll provide some answers to those questions, but that's everything from me.
If anybody wants some good reading, I've just bought this, which is the Good Landlord Handbook from Suzanne Smith. Very good if you've got some train journeys to do, to have a flick through. So yeah, sometimes you want a proper book, don't you, to learn from. So yeah, I'm not getting any commission, but yeah, it is a good one. I'm halfway through, so yeah, worth having a look at. All things renters' rights.
Cheers, Linda. Osai?
Thanks, Sam.
No other nothing too much else to say apart from yes, big change on Friday, and I just can't reiterate enough to seek professional advice. There's going to be a lot of things posted on Facebook, LinkedIn, and other places, but I would encourage everybody to join the membership body. It doesn't have to be the NRLA. I am biased, of course, but do join the professional body, get professional and legal advice as well. This is new, uncharted territory.
Brilliant. Yeah, thanks ever so much for that. All right, take care, everybody. Thanks again for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Gemma. You've been a star. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.